Hello, welcome to Scary Movie and a Sandwich, your cozy, easy listening and easy watching podcast all about cozy things and scary stuff. With me, your host, Artem Yatsanov. Today on the show with me is a fantastic guest. He's suave, he's smooth, dare I say silky. This is the comedian, actor, writer, tattoo artist.
I'm gonna put silky in my IG bio.
I think you should. and not even explain, just like leave that up to the imagination.
Nothing else. Silky.
Folks, introducing for the first time the silky Greg Berman. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
Thank you so much for coming back. This is
I'm so excited.
We're reunited and it feels so good.
It feels so good. I can't wait to dig into these sandwiches. They are currently getting soggy in the best way.
Yeah,
it's
really
soaking.
letting the flavors marinate, come together. Mary, Greg, could you please introduce to us what are we watching and what are we eating today?
Well, today, folks, we are watching the horror film called The Fly with none other than Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis. And Jeff Goldblum's butt, I think it deserves its own credit, in my opinion. And the sandwich is a pastrami classic, number 19 sandwich called the hot pastrami sandwich from Langer's Deli, which is like right by downtown Los Angeles. One of the oldest, best delis in LA.
This is incredible. I'm so
what an
psyched.
episode.
Langer's,
Thrilled.
can't wait. Well, I can't wait to dig into the sandwiches.
Let's do it.
Folks, for those of you who have not seen The Fly, first of all, please treat yourself. Go get yourself a Langer's hot pastrami sandwich and go out and watch The Fly right now.
It's on Hulu and Disney Plus.
It's incredible. It's such a classic. You'll suddenly get so many references that you've seen throughout the years in different pop culture mediums. But if you don't have the time for that, and if you'd like to know all about The Fly, right now we have for you an all-original synopsis of the movie The Fly. Enjoy.
Hey there, sandwiches. It's me, Antonia, the best part of the episode, here to recap a horrible, terrible, worthless movie. Don't watch it. If you're wondering right now if you should watch it, don't do it. Stop. We're starting off great. Let me tell you about the movie we're talking about today. The Fly, starring Jeff Goldblum. As Artem says in these notes, the wickedly good Jeff Goldblum. And his co-star, the U.S. Olympic team archery quarterfinalist, Gina Davis. That's right. She almost went to the Olympics for archery. That's incredible. Okay, I'm going to tell you about this movie, but I just want to let you know that Artem made me watch the trailer before doing this, and I'm so traumatized because there's this scene where he's pulling his entire fingernail off, and like that's just in the trailer, and so I'm extrapolating, and I know that the movie itself is so much worse. Don't watch this. Okay, so what's it about? Look, it's simple. Guy turns into fly. The end. But it's like Jeff Goldblum is a scientist, but don't worry, you guys, he has abs. I saw it in the trailer. He invents a teleportation device. It's like he has to refine it a little, but basically it works, and he teleports himself from, I guess, one device to the other. But oh no, there's a fly in the teleportation device with him. And so in the teleportation, their DNA becomes inextricably fused. And that is why he starts to turn into a fly. The body horror is so upsetting to think about. Here are things in the notes. His fingernails fall off, his teeth fall out. Oof. His skin bulges and cracks. He starts sprouting all of these weird little hairs. His personality changes. He becomes like really erratic and insecure and aggressive. He's got this really heightened sex drive. By the way, he's been like hooking up with Gina Davis this entire time, but now that's obviously strained. And so they break up. He starts like digesting food on the outside, like vomiting up acid to like digest the food. Yikes. He's able to climb walls. Fun, very Pippi Longstocking. But then Gina Davis discovers that she's pregnant with his baby. Oi, she decides to get an abortion. Wow, controversial. He kidnaps her right before she gets the abortion, and he, in his like fly mind state, is like, we should all go into the teleportation machine together. Me, you, and our unborn child, so that we can fuse and become one. Okay, honestly, this is just drama for the sake of drama. If I had to give notes, I would say cut that. Just have him turn into the fly. That's enough tension. Gina Davis is like, don't do it. And she escapes, but he then teleports himself again, but the machine's breaking, and so then he turns into a half fly, half teleportation machine hybrid at the end, and it's like grotesque and scary, but Gina Davis shoots him and puts him out of his misery, and that's how it ends. This is such a waste of our time. We don't need this. I will just say, honestly, like, as someone whose body is just like always falling to pieces, this is the energy that I just don't need in my life. This is what every hypochondriac imagines is going to happen. Like, you just don't need to engage with this. Don't bring this energy into your life. Instead, I don't know, follow me on Instagram at Antonia Lestar. Cute, right? Okay, I'm Antonia. This has been a synopsis. Love you.
Whoa, that was a great synopsis.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, now we know a lot about The Fly. I think it's time for us to learn all about Langer's hot pastrami.
I think you can ship it. I think you can ship a sandwich anywhere.
This is
I don't know
amazing.
how they do that. I don't know the technology. Maybe they teleport it.
Oh my God. It does. It works. The device works.
But it
Jeff
tastes a little,
Goldblum, you
tastes
you
a little
idiot,
different,
Jeff
though.
Goldblum.
Let's eat
all
the
right.
sandwiches.
Let's eat the sandwiches.
Let's do it.
Dude, I'm so excited. Okay.
All right, I've got for us this Hanukkah bag of gifts.
Look, I just want to say, the last time you and I filmed, you brought a gorgeous sandwich into my life. Hamburger Mary's burgers. So outstanding. Which is all to say, much like in The Fly, I think once we have these sandwiches, I'll be once again transformed.
I think so. Here we go. Oh, boy.
My God.
You know what? I don't even really know what Russian dressing is.
Lift
but
them up.
It is, wow.
This is amazing.
It's got coleslaw
Nuts.
in there. Cheers.
Cheers, buddy. Hey,
Dig in.
here's
See you at the
see you
bottom.
on the other side.
So good.
I gotta say, this is kind of perfect.
That's so good.
I'm really like when I think in my mind about a pastrami sandwich, this is what I'm imagining. This
so
is
good.
hardly ever what I get. It doesn't really quite meet the mark, but this. Oh,
It's so good. And what's even more impressive about it is that, kind of like the burger, the design of a pastrami sandwich is tale as old as time. But to nail it, it's talent.
yeah.
You know, because
Yeah.
I feel the same way about this. That's always the analogy I use about like art performance. I always think about that. Like in my brain, I'm always going like, oh, I want to transcend. You know, I want to make something that no one's ever made. And the analogy I always think about is like, if you're trying to make a steak, you could go and start putting fucking nutmeg on it and cinnamon and weird spices to try to create something new, a palette that no one's ever tried. Or you can just knock a steak out of the park with some good salt and pepper and nail it. You know what I mean? So it's like transcendence doesn't have to be to create something that no one has ever experienced or seen. It could just be taking a classic and just doing it better than everybody else.
Yeah, then part of it is just like
this.
appreciating what makes a thing quintessentially good. You know, what's the main thing that makes this exciting? Like, you know, why even make the sandwich? It's like, well, you put these things together, and it's an experience. You know.
Yeah.
So for the viewers, listeners at home, let's get to know Greg a little bit. So Greg, you're kind of a multi-hyphenate artist. Tell me a little bit about in terms of, you know, we're kind of talking about a sandwich that has like a quintessential nail the classics, right? How did you discover your passion in all these different mediums, these different artistic endeavors? How did you find that you're, you know, I'm not just a one thing. I want to actually experience multiple.
I think the short answer is ADHD. I think
It's just 4 letters.
yeah, that's the perfect word economy, right? ADHD, not even a word. Also, I think I've come to the realization that I think I just like to learn. I think I just really enjoy learning, and so I find a thing that I'm like, oh, this is really interesting, and then I just dive in. And I am the king of making side quests into main quests. And I think that's kind of how this all happened, is that I started in high school as a magician.
Oh my God.
Actually, I did magic way before high school. I just started doing it professionally in high school because, I've been doing magic since like, I have a picture of myself as like a 5-year-old in Ukraine doing magic. It's like my most prized possession. It's on my nightstand. And whenever I'm feeling down, I'm like, yeah, but this kid would like me.
That's incredible.
I always think that.
Yeah.
This kid would be like super into what I'm doing.
I love that.
And so I started there, and then, high school, I did speech, which is how I met your wife and how I met you. Crazy.
Thank you for doing speech. Thank you for speaking.
Sexually competitively against your wife. And then I started doing stand-up because after speech was starting to wind down my senior year, I was like, okay, I got to keep doing this somehow. And stand-up seemed like the route.
What in that moment of like, I want to keep doing speech, or even like backing it up, like how did magic lead to wanting to be in front of people and wanting to kind of speak? Like there's something about magic where I always think of it as there's an artifice, right? Like I'm gonna do a thing that you can't understand and impress you.
But you all know that I'm doing a thing,
right? But then you take the thing away, and it's just you, and there's no barrier, right?
Yeah, I mean,
where do you think that
the reason
evolution happened?
I think the reason that I went from magic to comedy, with magic, a lot of magic is creating the magic trick, like creating the gimmick or whatever it is that you're going to use to do the trick, which a lot of times takes like engineering knowledge. Like it's not an easy thing. It's not just about performance. It's about the little tools that you use to do it, and the sleight of hand and the practice. It's almost like guitar playing in a way.
Right.
Where it just takes years and years and years. Like it took me a year to learn one thing that is used in like a lot of coin magic, but it took me like a year to get really good at that.
Wow. Okay.
And so, but what I realized as I got to high school was I didn't feel creative in it, because what I was doing is I was reading books and I was finding secrets, and then I would take those secrets and I would buy whatever I needed to buy to do the trick, and then I would just do the trick. But I didn't feel like I was making the trick. I just felt like I was taking someone else's work and then putting my own words on top of it, which didn't feel creative enough for me. It felt like I was saying before, I was just doing everyone's steak. I was just cooking it the way that everyone was cooking it, with maybe a little more, a little less salt, whatever. It felt wrong. And it was kind of expensive. And immigrant kid, we didn't have all that much money. My mom used to sew my silk handkerchief for all my tricks.
And the price of education, magical schools, very expensive.
So expensive. Hogwarts, you would not believe the tuition. And it's all out of state, by the way.
Oh my God.
Of course. And so I eventually was like, I don't really feel like I'm creating it. And then I realized one of the things I liked about magic the most was the comedy part. So I got to the point where I wanted to do all of it. I wanted to create the whole experience. And stand-up was just cheaper. It's just like, you have a notebook, you have me, it's more creative. I feel like you start with nothing, you walk on that stage, you have nothing, and you make something, and you make some sort of energy. And I had done like high school competitive speech, and so I was like, all right, I could do, and I was pretty successful in it. I won some big tournaments and stuff like that at a national level, and I'm like, all right, I can do it here, I can do it in the real world. And so I did, and so I just kind of started. One day I remember like so clearly, I was just like, I looked up comedy clubs on Google Maps and just called as many as I could. I wasn't even 18 at the time, so many of them said I couldn't go because I wasn't old enough.
This is really, I have to say, that's very, it's so ambitious and so exciting, also very precious, like a baby Greg just
Hey, I'm a comedian. I would like to try comedy. But there was
a lot of jokes.
There was one comedy club called Joke Joint, and they had a workshop on Wednesdays where you could go and try out material. So I went to that, and of course that was such a novelty for all of the other comedians. As a little kid,
like, who's this kid? Yeah.
And of course I'm like up there like, so how about teachers? Right? They're weird. Like, so what was that?
But you're right about what you know. You're
I'm like a white rapper. I got nothing to talk about.
You're like, you ever? Doesn't it just stink when your parents are like, oh, it's 10 o'clock. I have to go to bed.
Go to bed. Yeah, like
10 o'clock. Do you know where your kids are?
They're here. Yeah. Comedy club. And so, but I ended up working out.
Mom.
I worked at a thing with the club owner, and he said that if he could like put like an X on my hand every time I was there, so I wouldn't get served alcohol, I could come as much as I wanted. And I kind of, once I learned that, I was like, oh, I could do that with other clubs. So I started doing that with other places in the Twin Cities. And then I was in the community. I did a set, loved it, and and it's like anything else. It's like drugs. You have your first time on stage, and then and if it goes great, which mine went pretty well, all things considered, you chase that you chase that dragon forever. That feeling of like that exhilarating feeling of I went up there and I did it. And then of course, once I was doing stand up, I went to college at the University of Minnesota. You know, I'm in Minneapolis, and now like, well, maybe I should act. I was in a couple theater productions in high school, so I'll go get an agent. So I went and got an agent. I walked into this agency wearing a full suit, and they're like, what the? Like, I walked in with my friend David Harris. He was like, hey, Carol, this is Greg, my friend. He'd be interested in working with this agency. And here I am standing in a full suit with like a manila folder, maybe a resume of some things I'd done. And I was like, here you go. Can I audition for you? Something like that. And she was like, okay. And we laughed for years afterwards about that initial meeting. I pretty much did comedy and acting all through college. Then I moved out to Los Angeles. And this is a city of, man, distractions. You find a thing and it's like, oh, yes. And there's so many cool things to do. So, but I think I don't think I really like, you know, I did all the things around it. Like I wrote a short film. I produced and directed that. You know, I did some improv and things like that you just kind of do along the way if you're in a performance space. Because if you're an actor, everyone's like, make your own shit. So I made my own shit, right?
Yeah.
But it wasn't until fairly recently, so I got in a really bad motorcycle accident like 3 years ago now, 2-3 years ago. And it was life-changing because I almost died. It was really intense. And I couldn't walk for 5 or 6 months. And during that time, I was doing a lot of thinking, obviously, because I didn't have a lot of things else I could do. This shirt that you're wearing, I appreciate the plug, by the way. That's a
GB,
a
Greg
limited
Berman
run,
original.
A limited run of, as my girlfriend calls them, jumpas that I made. And on the back
Also
it
known
says,
as a sweatshirt.
On the back it says nowhere to be and no time to waste, which is what a motto I adopted.
Nowhere to be and no time to waste.
I don't have to be anywhere or become anything, but I have no time to waste in the present moment. This moment,
because the time is all running out,
is happening. But I don't have to. I'm not running towards any particular goal that has to happen. And because of that, I started to go like, wow, well, what else is out there? You know, how else can I explore creativity and art as a whole? And I couldn't walk, so I got an iPad and an Apple Pencil, learned how to draw. And then as soon as I could walk, I got into a tattoo apprenticeship and started tattooing. And then from there, it was like, okay, now I'm doing like visual art stuff. Then I was like, then I got a Dremel machine and started engraving, which is a very similar skill because it's kind of the same as tattooing. The machine moves. There's no mess ups. If you make a line, that's in there forever. And then I started making clothes. Actually, this jumper right here.
This is a lovely jumper.
I Cronenberged myself, and I wore it on purpose.
That's right.
I put an Adidas
X
sweatshirt
Cronenberg
into one telepod, and then I put a sheen like ladies jacket into another, and then this is what came out.
Oh, I didn't realize that those sleeves are not of him.
These sleeves I cut off of another thing and sewed them on. And just to get back to the original point, it was because I just like learning. Like I found a thing and then I get excited about learning new things. And then the worst part is I'm kind of quick at learning things. So I get good kind of quickly, and that's intoxicating.
It's terrible to be good at things fast.
But the problem is I reach a plateau quickly and then I just stay there because by that time I've already found a new thing I'm learning. Like now I just started rapping recently. Do I need to do that? No, but it's fun. I've caught the bug, and now I'm learning like what a cipher is and how to like do it right, and that there are all this world of beats and producers.
Oh my god!
And I've only been listening to hip hop for 2 years, and I'm so deep into it now. And this is what I do, I think.
I want to get more into it with that because I feel like you're setting up some good overlaps with what The Fly. Kind of the central kind of core questions. The Fly, the movie.
The movie, yes.
I think you're kind of tapping into some core things that The Fly both like thinks about, but also is like warns us about, you know. And so I'm finding this really fascinating. So I think this is a perfect actually segue for us to get into the patented scary movie in a sandwich, Tasty Chats.
Ooh.
I've got a couple of questions to kind of get us deeper into the sandwich and this movie. And again, shout out Langers. I mean, that was
so good.
A tremendous sandwich. All right, folks, this is the patented Tasty Chats. Greg, to start things off, all right, how did this movie and this sandwich come into your life? I kind of know the answer to one of these, but walk me through the sandwich and the movie in your life?
Well, the sandwich was presented to me by Rachel's dad. He was in town. He lives in London, but every now and then he'll fly in for some for some genocide conference.
Just give us a little bit of context. Who's Rachel? Who's Rachel's dad? Why does he like genocide conferences so much?
He's like a Jewish historian, and so, but he like specializes in like World War II history. And he goes to like a genocide convention. I swear to God, one time he whipped out a tote bag that said like World Genocide Convention. And I have never wanted something more than that tote bag.
You know, some people like rapping, some people like genocide. You know, it's just different strokes for everybody, right?
So he came in, he was in and out for just like a couple days, and he demanded we go to Langer's.
Huh.
And we did. And I generally am not like a huge pastrami guy, because a lot of times it's like spiced on the edges with some stuff I'm not really into, and it's usually served on rye.
Yeah. You know, and Langer's does it kind of like no frills.
Chills.
Yeah. Because you will get a lot of that spicy
Like the
peppercorn stuff
yeah,
on the end.
I don't really need that either. So I tried it, loved it, haven't eaten it since. And then when you were like, let's do another podcast and a movie, I'm like, I mean, the only sandwich worth noting is this pastrami sandwich from Langer's. And I didn't realize how expensive they were. They are quite pricey sandwiches. But you know what? You're getting your money's worth. So that's how the sandwich came into my life. The movie I had never heard of, actually.
It blows my mind.
Well, this is the thing, though, is that I didn't come to America until 98. This movie's from 86. There's just like so many movies that I just have never heard of.
I feel like The Fly is on top of the list for American culture.
Not when there's like 3 6-hour Godfather movies and Jaws.
You need to get that under your belt.
Indiana Jones.
The National Lampoon's Vacation
so
movies.
Many
There's
movies
a lot
to
of
watch.
America to
on top of the movies that are coming out all the time.
Yeah.
So I have to catch up on certain things. I feel the same way about music.
100%.
I know like one song by the Rolling Stones. Like there's a whole discography that I'm not familiar with.
It's so crazy. It's fun. So for those of you who did not tune into the previous episode with Greg and I, you should. It's brilliant. But Greg and I dive deep into the fact that we're both Ukrainian immigrants, kind of came here at a same age. And so there's a real thing, I feel like, as an immigrant where you know, your parents want you to survive, so they want you to assimilate. So they want you to get as American as possible. And suddenly you're doing all of this pop culture catch up. Like, why did I watch so much Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and The Simpsons and the X-Men cartoon?
I know.
And like the Martin Lawrence show to learn English. This is how I learn English.
Well, and on top of the fact that you and I happen to have come here early enough that we don't have much of an accent. And if I spoke like, hello, Artem, good to see you. I'm very happy to be on this podcast.
Greg, it's such
you
pleasure.
wouldn't be surprised if I hadn't seen The Fly. You'd be like, oh, yeah, sure.
Right.
Boris over here hasn't seen The Fly. That's not crazy, right?
That's right, yeah.
But because I sound like my name is Landon and I'm from Iowa.
Hi, I'm Kyle.
Tanner.
Would anybody would not believe that I'm a Kyle if I said to somebody
100% I would buy you as a Kyle.
The amount of times people expect for me to be like, hi, Jim, I'm Dan, and I go, I'm Artem, and they're like, what is that?
Yeah. What's an Artem?
Why are you doing this?
Yeah. Like I'll come out and I'll talk shit about Ukraine on stage or something, or the Soviet Union on stage, and people have like a weird tone, and then I sometimes forget that, like, oh yeah, I'm from there. It's okay. Like I have. It's the same thing with being Jewish. A lot of people don't think I look very Jewish. Right. So I'll sometimes like say something that's like a little, stereotypical, kind of poking fun at my culture, but forget that I haven't mentioned that I'm Jewish, and now I come off like this anti-Semitic dude on stage.
Same. My God, Greg, we have the same thing. I feel like I always have to be like, well, because blah blah blah. Back in Brooklyn, our rabbi, Hasidic, Chabad,
by the way,
all these things that are like. You don't look Jewish. I went to a barber for 2 years back in Brooklyn. Every couple of weeks I go get a haircut, whatever. I just never really put two and two together. I never thought of it. And then one day I'm walking into the shop and she's like talking to her sister a million miles a minute in Ukrainian. I'm walking in, I'm talking to my parents in Ukrainian. And then she like looks up at me, she's like, what?
Что?
Почему? Чего? And she's like, you never told me you're Ukrainian? And I'm like, no. She's like, all these times that you've been in the shop and I've been just cursing my head off. I'm so embarrassed. And I'm like, no, literally, this is the first time I've heard you speak Ukrainian. It was like, we're like both of us. She's like, you don't look Ukrainian. I'm like, what do you look like? She's like, American? And I go, why? She's like, facial hair? Like, she's like, she like couldn't really put it into words why I don't look,
But also, I feel like we do look like we're Eastern European of some kind,
we're talking to
right?
our producer of camera who do you feel like we look like just like two
now that we're in the same room,
generic
there's
Eastern
definitely
European
like
white guys?
Yeah. I'll take it.
Yeah, we'll take it. That's it. That's it.
It wouldn't be weird if we didn't sound perfectly American.
Yeah.
Like we sound like we're like Canadians. We're like secretly
Yeah.
unaware.
The secret Americans,
Yeah.
the Canadians.
We're like
I love
Canadians.
I wonder how Canadians feel about that. How do you feel about being just a different type of America? Sorry, we can cut that. I just get
No, that's staying in. Different America Light.
America
generic
Light,
brand,
yes.
generic brand America.
I think this is actually a good tie-in about the movie. That this movie, I wonder. I feel people who love horror movies will be like, oh, Baba Cronenberg, The Fly, like it's top of their list. And then you have this like kind of now is a bit of a pop culture staple, Jeff Goldblum. And a lot of people who are Jeff Goldblum fans are not necessarily horror fans. Not necessarily. So they might be surprised to be like, oh, he's in this crazy like mind-body horror where he's in this fucked up prosthetics. He looks insane. Like so it's interesting. I wonder how many people fall in both camps, so the Jeff Goldblum fans and their horror fans, and like how many people have not seen The Fly because they just assume that's not something that my boy Jeff Goldblum would be in.
Well,
you know
what's interesting is that, and this happens to me all the time for the exact thing that we were talking about earlier, this like blackout of my pop culture knowledge before a certain time. But I watch this movie and I go, oh, I have seen this reference in so many things. Rick and Morty references Cronenberg all the time. And as soon as I saw the director's name, because I didn't even know the director, as soon as it was like written in the front titles, I was like, oh,
Cronenberg.
This makes a lot of sense.
Huge. The thing is, pop culture is trippy like that, where things blend and start to like replicate one another. You know, like what's the copy of a copy of a copy? Like there's something really fucked up that happens.
The telephone game, right?
There's something really fucked up that happens at the end of this movie, right? When he splices himself with the fucking technology. But then you also kind of wonder, like at the very end of the movie, and I completely forgot it when I was rewatching it. I was like, oh, right, the last thing that this guy wants to do is become the ultimate family unit by taking pregnant Gina Davis and combining it with himself and then being this third thing. And you're like, what is that? Like, what if
also still a little fly? Like he did point that out. He said that in the end, he's just trying to It's so funny. It's like Social Network. He's just diluting the shares. He's just diluting the shares. He's trying to make the fly part less.
Interesting.
That's why if he merged with her and the baby, it would be a part of him, a part of her, and him, which is three humanoids.
Because he says, teach me how to be human again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. The pop culture element of this movie, I think you're right, like, is so ubiquitous at this point.
Yeah.
Everybody has heard some kind of a reference. You're right, the teleporters.
But also, isn't this like a little reminiscent of Kafka's Metamorphosis too?
Of course, yeah. I think it's borrowing and inspired by a bunch of stuff. And Kafka, for sure. I mean, a person who turns into a maggot, and then
yeah,
for sure.
I think Kafka's Metamorphosis was definitely something I was seeing that through line in there.
Let me ask you this: how do you feel this pastrami sandwich pairs with The Fly? Messy.
Yes, messy is one way to put it. I think it's interesting because as I was watching The Fly, I didn't feel like it's a horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's really not all that scary.
Yeah,
but
it's a little gross.
But
the idea is a little disturbing at times.
Yeah, and when it really, I think the first kind of disturbing scene is when you see that inside out baboon.
Yeah,
and also
that's the first kind of bit of real horror.
Hilarious that not only does he have one baboon, but he has two baboons and their siblings.
Who's giving this guy baboons?
Who's giving this guy brother and sister
of these baboons? I'm sorry. Where's we got Barbara Baboon, but where's Billy Baboon?
Also, baboons are like really intense.
So vicious.
They're very. They're not like you just come on here.
They've got fucking crazy teeth.
Especially after he like shocks the thing. Like that thing is scared. I had a monkey experience. There is a place in Los Angeles or just outside of LA called Animal Tracks.
Okay.
They're not paying. This is not a paid partnership, but you can go.
It's not a paid partnership because the next thing I'm about to say is really fucked
No,
up.
no. It was really cool. I got to do it one time. You go in there and you interact with these capuchins, and there's a spider monkey, and then there was a baboon, and they brought the baboon out, and they told us if we wanted to bring snacks for the monkeys, we could. And so I brought a little Ziploc bag with some carrots in it, and I wrote 4 monkeys on the Ziploc bag. I wanted them to know that it was for them.
Cute.
And I.
How old were you? You're like You're like 25.
Yeah, this was like I think 27 or 20.
Oh my god.
Yeah, this is recent. I was in LA already.
I labeled it so the monkeys could see. This
The
is for
monkeys could
them.
know. And I slid the little bag of carrots over to the baboon as an offering. And the woman said, once you give them the food, you cannot touch it again because they are very possessive. Once you slide the food over, that's it. Do not touch it. So I slid the bag over, and the baboon noticed it, gave me a look as if to say thank you, I think. If we felt a kinship in that moment. Yeah, he tipped his hat. And then I was just trying to open the bag a bit more for the monkey. And as I reached my hand towards the bag, the baboon went,
Oh.
it was like a, bitch, please? Excuse me? And it was such a human look of like, don't you fucking touch that bag right now. And I went, oh, my bad. I'm so sorry. But that baboon would have torn my fucking face off if I touched those carrots again.
Absolutely.
And maybe it's because he had read the inscription on the bag. He's like, can you not read?
Can you not read?
It
says, are you a monkey? No,
You're not
thank
a
you.
monkey.
So
Exactly.
No, I got it.
So baboons are
intense.
very intense.
Yeah.
And the fact that he just like kills this baboon sibling, shocks this thing, and then the monkey goes, "Hey man, how you doing?" Runs over to him, gives him a big hug.
Yeah. Well, he teleports the monkey from one thing to the other, and then the monkey's like, "I'm happy to be here," and you're like,
So,
"Hurry, not flipping." Yeah.
Not all that scary, but it does. But like a pastrami sandwich, it is a classic done right.
It's the thing we were talking about
Grossness.
to begin with. Is
Yeah.
that like, yeah, you could put as you said nutmeg on the steak, or you could just nail it.
And
I feel like this is. I literally was this morning rewatching the movie and going, God, I hope nobody remakes The Fly.
Oh man.
And then I was thinking about it
with
like
CGI and shit.
yeah, and then I was like, well, okay, let's not poo-poo the idea. But then I started thinking about why people remake things, and it's when they feel like
Technology's gotten better, right? And we could do it better.
well, I also agree with you. The technology also allows you to do things that you couldn't do before. But I think, like as an artist, to remake something, you have to go, what was the quintessential idea that they weren't able to execute at the time? Right, for whatever reason.
A good artist would ask that question.
Exactly. Yeah, good.
Someone who's just trying to make money is going to say, all right, let's just give them the
Sure.
same thrills, a couple more
Right.
jump scares,
I
and maybe like
mean,
a rock opera in there
how
somewhere.
many Friday the 13th are out there? You know,
Exactly.
they can't all be bangers, right? But there's something about like The Fly where I was like, well, if you were to remake it, what are the people going to say? Oh, it does this better than the Jeff Goldblum one. You're like, does it do better special effects? Do we need the CGI? The core idea, they really nail this concept of, I think, ambition, losing like agency of your body. The idea of also just the idea of the autonomy of the idea. Is it you or is it The Fly? Is it you making this choice or is it something else?
It's the growth of the character too, because what I really found interesting was at about the 66% point of the film, he was really scared of this evolution.
Yeah,
Because she comes over and he's like, I'm dying. I don't know. I don't understand. This is terrible. Look at me. Whatever. All this stuff.
he thinks
right?
he might be contagious.
Yeah, exactly. And then she comes back and he's like accepted it and he's like happy about it. He's like, yeah, sure, there's this way of life, but I've found through science a different way of life. Could I not just be this? What did he call himself? A Brundle?
Brundle, because his name is Seth Brundle.
By
and
the
he's
way, terrible name.
there's a guy named Stathis in this movie. I'm like,
Actually,
what are these names?
Yeah, Stathis I thought was a good like bad guy love interest name.
I like that. I like to imagine that it's just a short name for stethoscope. His full
and
name
he
is
has no first name.
Yeah, it's a
Just
stethoscope.
Stethoscope.
Stathis? Like I was like, is it your first name? Is your last name? You or only refer to as Stathis?
Well,
And it's like,
and also I love that his ex-girlfriend calls him that. Like, there is nothing less sexy than having
know
a
what I
woman
mean?
call you like,
Hey.
hey, Yatsunov.
Hey, Berman.
That's
Oh,
such
boy.
a fucking like
Yeah.
high school football kind of
For sure.
way of communicating.
Yeah.
So the fact that she calls him by his last name, I was like, ugh, this woman is over you, bro. But yes, I think what they did is they really showed this cool evolution of this character. And by the end, when he lifts that shotgun up to his head, you fucking feel
Yeah.
it somewhere
Yeah.
deep. And that's what I think horror movies frequently fail to nail. That's
Fail to
podcast
nail.
name somewhere.
Fail
Fail to
to
nail. Write
nail.
that down. That's what I think a lot of horror movies fail to nail is they're so focused on the jump scares and they're so focused on transcending in the horror space, right? How do we get more blood, more death, crazier, more disturbing scenes? That's how you get shit like the human centipede, pun fully intended. Like
Yep.
it's someone going,
Maybe
how do we
bugs.
really nail this disgustingness? But that movie wasn't doing that. It nailed a really
No,
great
it's got this
formula of
interesting
good
pace.
storytelling.
It really doesn't rush the reveal of the. I mean, it's like it does these interesting, like you said, like the baboon's a great moment when you're like, that's when the horror drops for the first time, and then the little changes. Like it's a good, shit's really going off the rails when he like pops his finger in the mirror. But
Oh,
it's
yeah.
a good hour into this tight 90-minute movie. It's a good hour until we see, oh, his face, his body is.
Because
There's no turning back, and it's interesting because
he's
it really
so good.
it keeps teasing what might happen until they're like, all right, let's do the full prosthetics, let's put it all on, and
Which is what I think
So
the
cool.
best horror movies do.
really using
Where-
attention,
Right.
pace.
Right, where you're not necessarily scared of what's on camera. You're scared of the possibilities. That's what like
idea,
paranormal activity is all
yes.
about. You rarely see
100%,
anything, right?
100%.
It's the fear of what could be. That's why the dark is scary, because you don't know. That's where fear comes from, is not knowing.
To wrap it back to the hot pastrami, they nail it. They nail the thing that's been iterated upon by so many different people.
Yeah, they're not like, we have the best Russian dressing. We have the best coleslaw. We've got a toasted bread that is better
No,
than
they're
any...
like-
They're like,
they're
no,
like-
this pastrami sandwich. I actually want to point out one other thing you said. You said that it's a tight hour and a half movie. I recently watched a film which I think was titled A Thriller, and I want to talk about this movie a little bit, but I don't know if I want to shit on it. I'm not sure.
Okay.
It's a movie called It's What's Inside.
Okay.
Have you heard of it? It's
Yeah,
on
then like on
Netflix.
Netflix, and everybody's like smiling funky on the posters.
It's What's Inside is about this guy who shows up at this party and he's got this thing that allows everyone to switch their consciousness into one of the other people in the room's bodies. And then they play like a game, with it all.
Whoa.
So like this whole room of people who are kind of reunited from
I love this
college or whatever.
concept. Yeah.
And then of course, hijinks ensue, right? And not to, well, I won't give you any spoilers because you might want to watch it. But essentially, I walked away from that movie going like, that movie could have been longer, which I've never thought about a movie. But when I think back to it, I don't think I wanted that movie to be longer. I wanted it to be paced differently and more effectively, because the big major thing happens too far into the movie where you don't have enough time to play with it. And so by the time you
that's
get to that
interesting, yeah.
point, the act 2 feels like it's already kind of done. And so you're already in act 3, and now there's no time for fun and games with this new huge thing that just happened.
Right.
And so that's what I loved about this movie, is that they gave you the pieces you needed at the time that you needed them to make the movie tight, strong, and interesting all the way through.
All right. Well, we're already doing it. Let's keep going. This is kind of a segment I'm calling "Let's Overanalyze This." But you just actually mentioned something about the clues you're getting along the way. What's your relationship with moments like that in your life, where you kind of look back and you go, when are the things where
Oh, man.
there's a slight sign that something is about to change?
Since the accident that I mentioned earlier, I am just fully in the camp of no matter what happens to me, it is exactly the perfect thing that happened at the perfect time in the time that it needed to. Whether or not it's positive or negative is entirely dependent on the moment in which you ask the question. So think of it this way. The motorcycle that I crashed on, I won on Let's Make a Deal. So I went on Let's Make a Deal, won a motorcycle, which was the most lucky I've ever felt in my life. You don't win motorcycles in life. I did. I won it on a game show. I stood there with Wayne Brady and he said, "That's yours." And I was like, "What? Wayne, you shouldn't have." And
Got it just for you, Greg.
yeah, Wayne.
Wayne, you're so nice.
And it was such a beautiful, oh my God, moment for me. And then I wrote it for 2 years and it was so happy. I was so thrilled about it. And it led to one of the darkest times in my life, which was the accident, which was severely physically, mentally, emotionally taxing. I had never been through a severe health thing like that. I went through 4 surgeries for that thing. I broke 5 ribs, a collarbone, my knee, so much. And so do you call me winning the motorcycle a lucky thing or an unlucky thing?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, because that motorcycle accident has now led to my finding tattooing. It has led to me expanding some other things in my life. It has led to other huge, momentous life changes for me. It has given me some inner peace that I don't think I had before.
Yeah.
From just having lived through it and knowing that I can get through it. It's taught me how to listen to my body and understand what it needs from me, because I had to do that for so long. And, and I would go and meet with my doctor. How are you feeling? And I have to tell him a full report, And so now I'm back on the lucky side, right? It was lucky, then it became unlucky. Now it feels lucky again. And who knows, maybe a month from now, something related to all of this will turn unlucky again. And in that moment, I have learned through all of this to go, it just is. Whatever is happening just is happening. And I am thankful for whatever that might be, because I don't yet know if that's a good or bad thing, or what good or bad thing may come from it. So to get any kind of objective evaluation of moments that change your life for the better or for the worse is impossible, because it's never objective. It's depending on your perspective.
Put yourself in the shoes of Jeff Goldblum's character, Seth Brundle, after you realize, oh shit, I might have fucked up the calibration and there was a fly. Like, where do you think your mind would go to?
I mean, it's I think immediate acceptance, and then you just start thinking of, okay, based on what I know to be true right now, what are the next steps? I had this moment. This is such a great example, I think, of this. I was in New York. I was staying at a friend of mine's apartment. He wasn't even there. He was in Minnesota. He was visiting family, so I was staying in his room. I had a key, and he had a roommate whose phone number I didn't have.
Okay.
And one morning, he called me or texted me. He goes, "Hey, I got a package from Amazon. You should bring it in the house." I was like, "Sure." So I walked down. I'm not wearing a shirt. I'm literally just in pants, no shoes, no socks, no phone. I walk out. It's winter. It's February. I walk out, grab the package. The door slams behind me. I didn't realize that it locks automatically. So I have nothing. I don't know my friend's number by heart. I don't know his roommate's number. My phone is upstairs. I had a day full of shit I had to do. And I'm just standing in this cold hallway with no phone, no clothes, and a package that I'm supposed to get. And I panicked, right? Immediately, I'm like, fuck, what do I do? I don't know when this roommate's going to come home. I have no one to call. And I remember in that moment going, okay. I stopped. I sat down on the stairs. I accepted the moment that had occurred. I sat and just slowed down my breathing for just like 5 minutes, just like calibrated, meditated for a second, and went, okay, this is where I am. I don't know what to do. What are my options? And my first thought was, okay, a locksmith could help, right? I'm sure this happens frequently. I'm sure you need to get in. Okay, maybe I try to call a locksmith. How do I do that? I don't have a phone. All right, well, there's a grocery store right over there. Okay, I guess I'm walking barefoot with no clothes over to this grocery store. Gonna somehow convince them that I'm not a crazy person.
Yeah.
See if they'll let me use their cell phone and just call the nearest locksmith and have them come open the door. And that's exactly what I did. And a locksmith showed up like an hour later and got the door open for me. But I wouldn't have come to that conclusion if I hadn't slowed down. And so I think that's what I would do, is in a moment of panic like that, I would have stopped, taken a couple breaths and go, I can't undo what I've done.
Mm-hmm.
So what do I do moving forward?
It's so interesting how I think watching this movie, I also just wonder, like, oh man, what would I do in a situation where something's completely out of my control, right? Like this idea of accepting your fate
Just is.
it's really tricky. I mean, of course, the stakes for Mr. Seth Brundle are wild,
that was the most beautiful part of the movie, was that they made it so human the way he accepted it. He wasn't scared. He was thrilled.
I have to
by
say,
his new superpowers.
I have to say, it is a dark movie, but it sort of has like a kind of a sense of humor throughout it.
Yeah.
I think casting Jeff Goldblum in that part
Very
is such
smart.
a good,
Very smart.
you know, it makes me think of it like the idea of transforming and accepting the transformation.
Yeah.
And then living with it. There's like a sense of like, you know what, to survive for that, you gotta have levity. You gotta have a sense of humor. I mean, he even like has these like really funny bits. He's like, have you ever met an insect politician? I'm like, what are you
So
talking
good.
about? And it's like, and Gina Davis is flipping out, but it is like a funny bit where he's like, yeah, you know, I could be the first politician. Then he's got this like profound quote that he says, like, I'm a fly that dreamt he was a man.
Oh, yeah.
But now, and I loved it. But now the dream is over, and the fly has to wake up. I'm just like, you do have to have a certain level of peace in your life. So that quote's like giving me chills right now. I'm like, it's such a profound thing. This is who I am.
This is where I am now.
Yeah, and also to say, and that's not the end. This is the next phase. You know, they say time plus tragedy equals comedy, right? And you've had this really traumatic experience that you had, and then it makes me think about like you as a comedian. Like, do you find that your life is funny and therefore you're a comedian, or being a comedian makes your life funny? You know, like where do you find the funny, especially thinking of it as like your life now as a part of somebody who's survived and overcome like this traumatic event? Because I think sometimes when people hear your story, and I've heard it now several times, and I see it on stand-ups, I think people are shocked. And then they're so kind of moved and like in some ways like impressed by the fact like, wow, you're able to make so much humor out of something that must have been so scary. Because your life, objectively speaking, that's not funny. But where do you find the funny? Like where does Seth Brundle find here's a spark of eureka in this experiment that's gone wrong, you know?
I think for me, it's I think I have gotten, and I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm an immigrant and I had to pick up on things. You know, when you're new to the country, you become very observant of how people move through life in this new country. And as a young kid, maybe that's something that kind of stayed with me. I think that my life isn't necessarily funny. I think that I have developed a way of seeing that funny in life. I think that I think you could give me any situation, and if I just look at it from enough different perspectives, I could find something humorous about that situation. And I believe that because I've trained myself to do this, I can now take anything. I you know, long story short, I had someone who owed me some money. They stayed in my place, never paid me for the rent, said they would, haven't, whatever. And that, like, I had a lot of anger about that. And I understand, I guess, their situation. I don't think they was malicious, but it still sucks.
Sure.
And so I'm like, what do I do with all this anger? So I like, you know, just for myself, I wrote like a diss track. You know, if I'll probably never do it anywhere, never really, but it was something that I did to go, okay, I'm going to take this thing that I really don't like, and I'm going to find some comedy in it, find some levity in it, make something productive out of it, and maybe that'll be enough for me to get over it. Because really, what I'm looking for is inner peace. Right? Whatever these stressors are in life that are coming my way, I'm just trying to find a way to be okay with all of it. And so as these things happen, I go, fuck, this doesn't feel good, but I got to find a way to be okay with this, because I still have to be here tomorrow and the day after and the day after and the day after. And I can't let this drag me down, because then I won't have the capacity to let in good things. That's
a really like a beautiful, I feel like, you know, Zen-centered kind of way of looking at it. It is, I mean, I keep finding these interesting parallels to The Fly, where I think we see this character kind of lose the ability to do that. This autonomy, right? This autonomy of thought.
Yeah.
Right, like we kind of mentioned, like, is it
it's
the
overwhelming.
fly thinking from, you know?
Sometimes life circumstances can be overwhelming. And I say this, I'm sure that my Zen like perspective sounds a little trite in some ways, because it's like, yeah, okay, good for you, Greg. You read fucking Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now, and now you think you're fucking Buddha. I'm not. I don't feel that way. And sometimes I struggle with it. Sometimes I will catch myself in the middle of being like, man, I'm so irritated about this. And then I go, why am I so irritated? This isn't even that big of a deal. And then I let the overwhelmedness pass. But I can't, you know, like the way that Jeff Goldblum's character transforms into this fly, I don't know if there's enough of a respite from this crazy change that he had the time to accept it. It maybe had the fly thing taken longer to like develop, and not, I mean, I guess timelines were really weird in the film because I don't know. Like at one point, it's like, oh, 4 weeks have passed. You know, like
right.
so. Like I don't know how that timeline went, but it seems like because it was all happening so quickly, he never had time to do that thing that I did, which is to sit down on the steps and just breathe for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It was so intense that he just had no opportunity for that.
Let's talk about the intensity of the vision of what this character is trying to accomplish. This would be a teleporter. This would change literally everything.
Crazy.
Do you know what I mean?
And I love how they like inserted a little bit of like I like to travel. Like it was just like such a little like, motivation.
I always get at the very beginning. He's like, I always get motion sickness. You know.
So I built a teleportation
like,
machine.
All right.
It's like that's such a like basic like that's like such a basic like improv rule. Justify the action.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this basic improv rule. Like, oh, you made a teleportation. Why did you do it? Because I hate to travel.
Yeah. So like the vision, huge ambition. I, as an artist, I don't think every artist is like this, but my approach is like, oh, anything I create, even this podcast, right? Like anything I create, I want it to somehow help people. I want people to listen to this or watch this, and it's going to make their life a little bit better. And then you kind of step away and you're like, wow, that's really fucking narcissistic. Like I have the ability to really like have that effect on people. But at the same time, it's not a bad thing that I'm trying to accomplish.
The thing is that it'll do that. The thing is that you don't have to want that to happen, and you don't have to push for it to happen, because then it sounds preachy. If you just do the thing that you think is the best, people will find meaning in anything.
But I think that is a really interesting thing to think about, how there are people who have lots of resources and lots of, ways to impact the world. And if they're thinking that too, but they're actually causing wild things to happen that maybe are not necessary. So like that's kind of like the idea behind this question is like, I think of this as the artist who becomes so consumed by their art. So then you kind of almost have to ask the question, like, who is the art for? Who's the audience, right? Like, who is it going to impact, right?
Classic question.
I did theater for a long time across New Jersey and New York. And I think at a certain point, I felt so ambitious about what I was doing. It's not that I pushed people away per se. I think I pushed myself away from people.
Sure. Or it could be an opportunity for you to say, all right, what did all of that do for me that is positive? What is the now lucky thing that came from that? Maybe the now lucky thing is that it caused you to move to LA faster, which is a good thing for you. And you met people here that are important and have started a life here. And maybe this is just a temporary place. Maybe you'll find another place there. But I think that we as humans want to know the outcome of all of our actions now. And we really struggle to live in a state of unknowing, to be unsure of how things will end. And I felt that way during my recovery, because I didn't know how I was going to, I was hoping for the best, but I didn't know how that would end, and I really wanted to, and my therapist was just like, it's okay to not know. There's in Eastern philosophy, they say, trust in the wisdom of time. Time is very wise. Over time, you'll learn the things you want to learn, and you'll have new questions that you don't know the answers to.
Right.
And then you'll learn that eventually. And then you'll have new questions from that. It's the same thing. Like, I just shot my stand-up special recently, and that came about through such a weird sort of set of coincidences, which, by the way, I don't believe in. I don't believe in coincidences. I think a coincidence is just a little benchmark from the universe saying, hey, whatever you're doing, keep doing this. You should be here. When you see a coincidence, for me, when I see a coincidence, like, wow, that's so weird that this happened, I just go, oh yeah, this is just the universe going, you're in the right place, buddy. Keep moving forward. And maybe that's just my way of like telling my anxious brain to shut the fuck up. And that's how the special happened. I met this guy, a friend of mine from like high school was in the show. He connected me with some producers from that show, and that was in like August or July, but the show ran until mid-October, and I just stayed in touch with them. I had no idea that would lead to this. And then eventually they're like, hey, we're closing the show, but we're going to have the venue for a couple extra weeks. And I was like, I'll take it. And so from having no idea that I was going to make a comedy special to having a date set for it was the span of a day. And then it was 3 weeks later that I was on stage performing it. It happened so quickly, and it was just and like anything else, it was a choice that I either could say yes to or I could have said no to it. And I don't think saying no would have been the wrong choice. And neither was saying yes the right or wrong choice either. It just was the choice I made. And I wound up with the special that was created from those choices.
Yeah.
Whether it's the best thing I could have done, I'll never know.
Maybe this is why I connect with The Fly so much too, is that it is such just a movie about somebody who says, let's see what happens.
Exactly.
So that's, it's the
Roll the dice.
quintessential like artistic thing of like, let's see what happens. Let's see if I share this idea with the world.
Sometimes you look at an empty canvas. I mean, my girlfriend's a painter. Sometimes she just like does something to a canvas just to see if it works. And then if it doesn't work, then she's got to make choices from there. But she has to have made that original choice because sometimes it works.
Yeah.
And it's great. And sometimes it's like, fuck, not great. And these canvases are expensive as fuck, so I got to do something with this.
And you kind of want to, and it's such a struggle with an artist because you want to know, you want to feel like again, like for me, right? Like I want to feel like I'm going to have an impact on someone. But I can't predict that. And I can't say that there's a formula for how to do that. And that's sort of the point, is that you do have to sort of release the control and let the outcome come and receive it, and you can just understand what's going on, acknowledge it. It's all happening in the now, in the moment.
Control is an illusion anyway. You can't control anything. I can't control what you feel or think or say. I can do my best to try to influence it through communication. But you're going to think and feel whatever you're going to think and feel based on your experiences that have led you to here.
Yeah.
So if you want to impact people and you want to control that outcome, so you want to say, I'm going to do this thing, and the outcome of this I want to control to be impactful to people. Well, that's a tough thing to say because people is such a varied word. There are so many millions of different kinds of people with a million different kind of variety of experiences, some of which might be 100% impacted by your work. And some of them might be like, this is ridiculous. One of the things I walked away with from my accident too is this idea, and it's morbid, but somehow it like resonates for me and feels okay. But it's everyone that died today had plans for tomorrow.
That's pretty good. That's true.
Like, it's true. I mean, I guess there's some people that know they're going to die.
And even if they were planning to take it easy tomorrow, they certainly weren't planning. They're still planning to be around.
When I got into my accident, I had plans for the day after. I hadn't even eaten. I didn't have any water or lunch that day. I was just busy working that morning. And then I was just doing an errand. I didn't know that the next 6 months of my life would be drastically different, to the point that when I got to the hospital after the accident, they wouldn't let me drink water or eat food. And it was like 9 p.m. I hadn't eaten or drank all day, and they wouldn't let me do it because they thought I was going to have to go into surgery. And you can't, if you're going to go on anesthesia, you can't eat.
Right.
And so I was begging them for water, and they wouldn't give me any. And again, it's like, had I known, I would have drank all that water in the morning. But you don't know that stuff. So it's like everyone that died today had something they were going to do tomorrow.
All right. To piggyback off of your horrific accident, one of the sort of quintessential things that people often think about The Fly is these very, very intense practical effects.
Oh, yeah.
The transformation of the body just being really, skewered, and the body being seen as completely kind of mutated and fucked up. There's a line that Jeff Goldblum's character says. He just says the flesh. The flesh, you're stuck on the society's narrow view of the flesh. And I kept thinking, like, what does he actually mean? Like, when you hear that in the movie, what's the flesh actually referring to?
It's so interesting because I've been listening to the Chelsea Hotel.
Okay.
By Leonard
Cohen, yeah.
He mentions in there something, we were chasing the money and flesh.
Yeah.
I think
that's
flesh
right.
at the time meant sex. I think it meant, or maybe not sex, but human things.
Right.
Maybe not eating, because I think that's a human thing, but I don't think flesh talks about eating. I think flesh is like, to chase flesh is to
physical
chase
things.
a human. To
Yes.
chase so I think flesh is, he means living organisms. Because he says inanimate objects. So I guess in his mind, the opposition to an inanimate object is the flesh. Because that's why food was suddenly like, wait, what about food? Because it's like he hadn't thought about food. Or the steak that he decides to teleport.
Yes.
Because he's like, oh yeah, I've been doing inanimate objects, and I've been trying to do a baboon. Why don't I try other living things that are just not alive anymore?
So what is the flesh in that context? Because
it
almost seems like it's
living stuff.
It's living stuff. But I almost feel like it's, in some ways, he's sort of saying, yeah, it's stuff that's tangible, but like is also intangible at the same time. like technology can't
Life.
explain
Yeah, I
why
think-
it feels or tastes or smells or
Right.
looks this way.
because life is too complex, right? What I thought was interesting is that nowhere in that movie did they discuss the idea of consciousness, which I thought was really interesting. Because a lot of times when you talk about teleportation, or at least when science fiction talks about teleportation, their discussion is if you break down something here, reanimate it here using the same building blocks, is the consciousness also transferred? There's a famous parable, or I don't know if it's a parable or just a thought experiment, where this idea of, like, let's say there's a huge ship, and every time you replace a part of the ship, you take the old part and you put it in a shed. So over time, you keep replacing these parts until at one point this ship is now all new parts, and then you have a shed full of all of the old ship parts here, right?
Oh, interesting.
What if you take all of those old parts and build a new ship with all of those old parts? Which one is the original
Which
ship?
is the original ship, right? Interesting.
Where is the consciousness?
Right. Is it
I
the
mean, the ship never
materials?
had
Is it the idea?
consciousness.
Right, right. But still, I see it. I totally
So
see what you were saying. Yeah.
Is the baboon that comes out on the other side, does it have the same memories? Does it, when you rebuild the brain of that baboon, does it come with all the experiences it already had? Neural
Right,
networks,
because
all
we
that
already
stuff.
see Jeff Gold. We never see Jeff Goldblum, I guess, purely go from one pod to the next, because he's already transformed the first time.
Yeah.
So he's already experiencing the world in like this
So
new
we don't
way.
know. Yeah.
So we don't know, which is interesting.
Does he inherit the fly's memories?
Right, like it's interesting that he doesn't inherit the fly's memories, but his body changes so quickly, and then his mind starts to shift into like the fly mode.
So this movie focused primarily on the physical, right? It focused on the genetic makeup of humans. It doesn't really focus on the consciousness, which is what I think a lot of teleportation tries to deal with. Is like, if you teleport from one thing to another, the thing that gets rebuilt in this other pod,
Like,
is it you?
Is something lost in the
Yeah,
transfer?
Like you said, flesh.
Right.
Is part of the flesh consciousness and experiences, or is the flesh literally just flesh?
All right, Greg, this is a little activity I've been trying to do in some of these episodes, which is called Cast This Sandwich.
Oh, okay.
You know, so we've got the three key actors. This is, luckily we have at Sandwich just kind of three parts, and this movie is mostly three actors: Jeff Goldblum, Gina Davis,
Stethoscope.
Stethoscope. Who's who? Cast Langer Sandwich. Yeah, who's playing which part?
I mean, Jeff gotta be the pastrami.
He's the
right?
pastrami
He's
for the
gotta
culture,
be the pastrami. He's gotta be the pastrami
for the diaspora. That's right.
In my opinion, Stathis is the rye bread because
100%.
I don't like him, but it's an important part of the sandwich for
Right.
most people.
Right.
And then I think that Gina Davis then would be the sauerkraut and the Russian dressing. She's the flavor.
She is the flavor, the sauce.
She's
That's right.
saucy. Well, she is the emotional through line.
For sure. Yeah.
She's
yeah.
the person who keeps the emotions running the whole time.
And she's kind of like the, you know, in some ways you kind of think about the journey of the characters and the character arcs. It's like she's the thing that makes Jeff Goldblum lonely and jealous. And Jeff Goldblum decides, fuck it, I'll go into the pod. And she comes back, says, I don't mean to make you feel that way. I understand we're kind of gut. And he's like, well, too late. You know, so it's like, it's interesting that she's transforming.
That's why
She's driving the
died
narrative.
in the end, because they had sex and then she got pregnant, and then the emotion of that pregnancy and the abortion, which, by the way, super progressive film to just like
Right.
throw in this like abortion in there. I wonder if the reason they felt so comfortable with that is because it was a monster inside of her body. So even the people who are like super anti-abortion could be like, okay, it's maybe not a real human, you know.
Right.
Like,
I agree with that casting. I think that definitely hits for me. Let's do one thing that you would either add or change or would like to praise about both the movie and the sandwich. Just one thing.
wow. You know, I honestly think the way the movie ends is so shocking. I could have maybe used a little aftermath, because for me emotionally, I really landed right when he moves that gun to his head. Fuck, that's such a great, like, anytime someone asks to die is like a really powerful moment
Yeah.
in a movie or
Yeah.
otherwise in life as well, I guess.
Sure.
But like the suffering is so bad, please kill me, is such an intense thing. I maybe would have liked to see some of the fallout of that, like the later experimentation, even just like a little epilogue where like maybe like, does she get the abortion? Maybe she gives birth to this kid and the kid is totally fine, and then like, you know, it's 30 years down the road, and this kid's like, and the kid's now like a fully grown adult. He's on the phone with like someone on the phone, and all of a sudden he like feels like a little fly hair on his forehead.
What?
Yeah, you know?
Well, what's crazy?
Setting you up for the sequel.
There is a sequel in the early '90s with isn't Eric Stoltz? Eric Stoltz is the son.
The Son of the Fly.
The Son of the Fly. And
is he fly-y?
You know, it's a whole other thing. But I love that your thing is that you were really invested in what happens to these characters afterwards.
I wanted to feel the emotion a little longer.
Brilliant. I love this. All right. Best bite, best fright.
That first bite. Well, actually, no. You know what? I would say the third bite, because once you get to the center of the sandwich,
yeah,
it's real juicy in there.
Classic.
And the best fright. I mean, probably the first time you see that inside out baboon, you're like, "Yo!" And why is it moving? Why isn't
it's like
dead?
shaking. It's not dead fully. It's totally flipped.
If it's upside down, the brain is like not in there.
For me, I think similar with you. I think this is such a nice chunky sandwich. You want to get a couple of bites in, and that's when you're like, "Ooh, I'm really having all of this." For me, my favorite fright is the that fucked up delivery room scene where they take the maggot out of her.
Oh yeah.
It's just like because it's first of all it's shocking, but then you're just like, oh, I think that's what it would look like, and then you go like, oh fuck, yeah, like it just feels so real. For a moment. Greg, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for the incredible movie recommendation.
Oh my god,
this movie's gonna sit with me for a little bit.
This sandwich is gonna stay with me a significant amount of time,
at least for 24 hours.
Oh sure, for sure. I mean, it's fantastic. Langer's absolute iconic.
Highly recommend.
Iconic.
So good.
Could not recommend it highly enough. We'll find you can find the link in the show notes, but Langer's, a true staple of LA, true staple known across the globe, verified by an art historian. So you know
Jewish
it's good.
Historian.
A Jewish historian. So you know it's good. Greg, if people want to get in touch with you, follow all of your works, what's the easiest way for them to get in touch?
Check out my website, www.gregberman.com. My Instagram and TikTok currently is Greg Berman is funny.
You are.
Thank you. I just wanted to make it clear in case there was any questions.
Yeah.
And if you want to check out some of my tattoo work, you can check out at Greggy Tats, Greggy Tats.
Fantastic. And your special, when is your special going to be available?
My special is currently in post. It's getting colored and sound designed.
Hi, Future Artem here. We actually recorded this episode a little while ago, and since then, Greg Berman has released his special, Here for a Bit. It's available now. So don't believe Greg Berman's lies. He's trying to keep his special, Here for a Bit, a Greg Berman special, away from you. Don't back down. You go out there. Don't stop. Don't let anything get in your way. You get Greg Berman's comedy special, Here for a Bit, today. I believe in you. Go and get it. You can just go on Greg Berman is Funny, and probably find there where it's currently streaming. Okay, thanks. Future Artem out.
I'm gonna have a screening sometime in January, just a private thing for some friends. You know, once I can weed through all of the flurry of emails from all the streaming platforms, desperate to take it off my hands.
Yeah, my God.
I will.
It's a hot commodity.
It's tough to choose. Which million will I take from whom?
Yeah.
So hopefully in 2025, that's my goal. The special is called Here for a Bit.
That's great.
It's got a double meaning.
Very good.
Yeah?
Yep.
And if you want to know what that is, then you gotta tune in.
Here for a Bit coming
Here
soon.
for a Bit.
Amazing. Greg, you're a stellar guest.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much for joining us for Scary Movie and a Sandwich. So excited to have you with us. Tune in for the next episode, and until then, stay hungry and stay scared.